Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Critical Podcast. My name is Jimmy Good, and I'm but one of your hosts. And joining me this week is my go-to podcast compadre, Mr. Joe Lever.
Jimmy.
And our other good friend, Levi. Levi, how's it going, pal?
Hola.
Yes. Muy caliente. Anyway, that's a good little intro there. Well, I just want to thank everybody, all of our Legionnaires, for tuning back in. We've been doing a lot of these, up to like 91 or something like that, believe it or not. But yeah, I know it's been
Holy
a lot. But if you're here for the very first time, we talk about movies, games, TV shows, all the things we love so much. Occasionally, cookbooks and comic books and music. But let's just get right into it. We have a lot of news this week, and we got to move through it pretty quickly because there is a lot of it. So we got some information from everybody's favorite alien director / creator, progenitor, kind of Ridley Scott, who said something kind of interesting about the Alien franchise moving forward. In an interview with Entertainment Weekly, he said this.
Better be good.
Yeah, I know. He said, people say you need more Alien, you need more face pulling, need more chest bursting. So I put a lot of that in Covenant, and it fitted nicely. But I think if you go again, you need to start finding another solution that's more interesting. I think AI is becoming much more dangerous and therefore more interesting. So it sounds like instead of moving towards the xenomorph like we were trying to do with Prometheus and Covenant, we're starting to maybe move away from it. And Joe, as our resident alien xenomorph lover, how do you feel about this news?
Really? Come on, guy. Come on. I understand what he's saying to a certain degree. Like there was even in Covenant, there was an aspect of that movie where David, for all those of you who don't know, he was a synthetic or the android, so to speak. But he was very interesting is that he was a protagonist, but his not doppelganger, but an earlier version of him, or an earlier model of him, I should say, was the antagonist, the guy basically behind the development of the xenomorph. And that whole back and forth and that scenario of those characters becomes interesting because first off, they span time, large amounts of time. They don't age, that sort of thing. So their history and the things that they do throughout really can lend themselves to a really interesting story. But and then even at the end when they end on that cliffhanger with David storing those embryos, that's kind of a holy crap, what is he doing? And his involvement in the film throughout is probably one of the most interesting parts. But without the xenomorph or the alien characters or the biological threat, you have a boring movie. So, it becomes more of like a mystery / a little bit edge of your seat thriller, I guess you will, or like a more detective type movie.
Yeah.
Instead of a holy crap, this is life or death. And there's excitement. So the xenomorph, the alien, adds excitement. So you're not going to get away from it. It's still going to have to be there. And in certain aspects, I feel like the alien really wasn't a big focus in Covenant, to be honest. I mean, it was a little bit, but it was only featured in a few key moments. And, the earlier or the more morphed versions of the xenomorph or the deacons or whatever, they were featured in a couple scare moments, but I don't know. I think there was a good balance there. But I feel like I can speak for a lot of people or a lot of Alien fans when I say that when you walked out of that theater after Alien Covenant, you're like, man, I wish I would have saw more of the xenomorph, the black one in its final form running through the spaceship. Like the whole first person seeing through its eyes was kind of neat for a little bit, but I wanted to see more of it kind of like just being ominous and ripping things apart.
Sure. Now, I guess we know that where Joe stands on this franchise. Levi, are you a big Alien fan at all? Do you like Alien, the Xenomorphs, anything like that?
Don't get mad at me for saying this, Joe. I loved Prometheus. I turned off Covenant halfway through. I didn't care for Covenant at
Oh my
all.
gosh.
Take a breath there.
What did it do or not do that made you say like, and I'm done?
Well, see, I
I'm gonna
like
have to
watching.
retire. I can't listen to this.
I like watching movies that aren't trash cans. That's
Oh my god, I can't take it anymore.
Okay, here's the thing. I will give it another honest try. I had just ADD that day with movies, and I just was like, nope, not feeling it. And here's why. I loved Elizabeth Shaw. Was that her name? Yeah, Elizabeth Shaw from the first one. Yeah, loved her. I'm so sad that she did not come back from this film. And I really liked the first one. I liked the the setting. I liked the story. I liked how it played out. I liked the ending. I liked David. That was a great character. Just didn't transition into a sequel well. I don't like the direction they took.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, so but does this news make you less or more interested in the franchise as a whole?
I mean, I'd be down to see something come out for them again. I'd be down to watch something else.
Sure.
I'll give Covenant an honest try. I know Joe has some heavy feedback on this review.
What you need to do, Levi, is go back and listen to my critical reviews.
Yep.
Review. And,
yep. Definitely one of our longest.
Our longest review in history of critical reviews.
Yeah.
The weird thing about all this, to me, is just that it took 2 movies to get back to Xenomorph, and then like this guy who's creating all this stuff is like saying maybe we're not gonna do that because it's not as interesting, which is kind of scary because we've already had films that have looked into artificial intelligence a lot. I'm not saying they can't do any more, but I look at something like the Terminator franchise or maybe even Age of Ultron, who has been like a focus of saying what happens when AI gets out of control. And yeah, those characters are more compelling and interesting potentially than just a xenomorph, which is just a monster. But it's the Alien franchise for a reason. Like you can have a focus on the AI still, but like stop making it such like a tease to get to the xenomorph. We've gotten to the xenomorph. Just feature the xenomorph, all right?
Yeah, well, and you hit the nail on the head. This is the Alien franchise.
Yeah, exactly. Not like
the David franchise.
Yeah, it's like the cyborg franchise or the robot franchise.
Here's the thing: is that the synthetic or androids, the synthetics they call them, I believe, right? Is that what they call them in the films?
So.
Pretty sure. So the synthetics are. It's interesting how they play off each other, but it's also interesting, and notice I'm saying interesting because they are interesting and they help further the film and create scenarios that make the film more interesting. I think more than anything, they're a good, what's the word? A good force on different parts of the film to make scenarios and situations that are interesting, period. And them maybe a little more so than your standard human character, but overall, that's what a character is. It's a force on the film that kind of helps to create interesting aspects of it. So, create situations. I mean, the whole film is about, they call it a plot for a reason, right? It's a big situation, right? How do you create a situation? Well, by action from a character. I don't know. So, you just don't want to pigeonhole yourself. You got to keep a little bit of variability and what's the word? Variety. So
yeah, I think also keeping in mind that look at something we're going to talk about Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom here in a bit. That like they're not moving hopefully away from they're not moving away from like dinosaurs. Like dinosaurs aren't as interesting. It's like, well, if you do that, so like make that another franchise. Like focus Aliens, an Alien franchise. But speaking of aliens, because we could talk about them all day. Venom. We got some news about Venom, and it just seems like it's Joe's week here because both those things. He loves them both. So I figure we'd talk about it a little bit. So the director for Venom, Ruben Fleischer, I believe is his name, he name dropped 2 different comic storylines that inspired this film. Anybody want to take a guess? I'm just kidding. I didn't know them either. But Venom Lethal Protector from 1993 and Planet of the Symbiotes from 1995. So if you're not familiar with those ones, There's one where the Planet of the Symbiotes. This is the one where Venom and allies have to fight a bunch of other symbiotes, because that's maybe where they're going to pull Carnage into this. And then the Lethal Protector storyline saw Venom kind of protecting a bunch of homeless people from these mercenaries. That there are reasons why these mercenaries are going after them. So again, kind of falling in line with maybe the anti-hero idea that we thought about this going in, without Spider-Man being involved.
Yeah.
No. Joe, you take the lead on this, man. How do you feel about this?
I'll take point, Jimmy. I'll take point. How do I feel about it? What was the title of the one? Planet Symbiote?
Planet of the Symbiotes. I believe that was the main
Really?
I was pulling up here.
Yeah, I'd almost like to go back and page through one of those and see exactly what that kind of revolved around. I mean, it's them. Are they on another planet?
Well, technically, the symbiotes come from a planet just full of symbiotes, and then that's the thing, is that like they end up fighting. If I remember correctly here, I want to make sure, because people say you don't read the comics. Okay, so symbiote draws a ship to Earth from its home planet. Venom and allies caught up in a battle to defend Earth. A whole new slew of new symbiotes who are taking over average citizens. This is from Polygon.com, by the way. But yeah, so that one. But I think it's maybe, I don't know if they're going to fight a ton of them, because there are a ton of like Venom's offspring that he's had to fight kind of in the past. But I think they'll probably focus on Carnage as kind of like the main one.
Yeah.
And maybe Carnage will attack the homeless people and Venom will try to protect them. And the interesting thing they talked about too, Joe, is that Lethal Protector takes place in San Francisco. Like he and Spider-Man make a deal where Spider-Man's like, all right, I'm going to let you leave, but you have to promise no more crimes. Like you can't do anything bad. Like you can leave New York, but you can't do this. So he's like, all right. So he goes to San Francisco and he's trying to be a good guy. And Tom Hardy even confirmed, I think, that they are actually going to be shooting in San Francisco. So kind of interesting setting, you know. I'm like, oh.
No, I like it. I like that they seem to be picking influences that kind of separate themselves from the Spider-Man shadow. You know?
Well, they have to do that, don't they? Because they're not. If it's not going to be tied into Spider-Man, then.
Well, yeah, they have to. They have to get out from underneath Spider-Man's shadow. So I think they've done a good job in kind of selecting some good inspiration for that from the way it sounds. San Francisco, I think that's a good change up. We don't often see these types of movies in San Fran, right? I mean, what we've seen, like Tony Stark's. What's that beach? What would that beach be?
Oh, Malibu.
Yeah. Malibu. We've seen New York City
about 1,000 times.
1,000 times, and then we've seen New Mexico, and then we've seen the middle of nowhere Europe somewhere. I don't know.
Oh, like for Age of Ultron?
Yeah.
And Justice League is like in Russia, I think, something like that.
Yeah.
Because we're experiencing some technical difficulties with Levi will probably be back in, hopefully, in a little bit. But until he gets back here, you know, I'm excited about Venom. I'm a big fan of Venom as well. I think, you know, Joe made a good point about them trying to get out from underneath the shadow of Spider-Man, and that's something they're going to have to do, especially if they move forward with this whole Sony Marvel Universe thing. I'm really hoping, it's like I want the movie to do well, Joe, but at the same time I don't, because like if Disney really truly does buy Fox, like if they could make a really good deal to get Spider-Man and just have it all in-house, that'd be great. Like, because I don't want to think there's like the MCU and then like the Spider-Man universe happening over here, like without Spider-Man for some of it. You know,
that'd be really screwed up, and especially now that they've established a Spider-Man, I think everybody is liking right now or jiving with real well.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's the fear too. Is like, where does Tom Holland go after like his 4-picture deal with the MCU? Does like, you know, Disney come back to the table and say, "Hey, Sony, like it worked out really, really well, and it's working out for you. Like let's just keep this going," or does Sony say, "Hey, actually, we're gonna take Tom Holland and he'll be our Spider-Man"? It's like you can't, like he's a big deal. You can't take him, you know,
Tom
sort of
Holland's
thing.
Just like, no, I'm kind of over the whole thing.
Yeah, he's like, you know what? I don't want to be Spider-Man anymore. And then there's like Tobey Maguire's like, I'll do it. Guys, he still looks young. Yeah, exactly.
In the shadow.
Oh, whoa,
Someone else's dream. Time to find. Oh, hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
I'm sorry. Just singing a little Ashley Simpson for you.
We're keeping it in. Levi's back with a vengeance. Levi, you excited about Venom?
You cannot keep my Ashley Simpson impression.
Did you hear that? You excited about Venom besides Ashley
Yeah.
Simpson?
Yeah, it'd be great.
It'll be great. It'll be great. It's gonna be great. All right. Anyway, moving on. More
It's gonna be
news.
huge.
It's gonna be huge. All right, video game awards. They happened, and well, I did like a live reaction to it, which you guys can check out if you want to. But
I was there.
you were there. Joe was there. Levi might have been there for a moment.
I
too.
was there. Yep.
Yep. We had people there. I'm gonna quickly run through the award winners. We'll stop maybe on a few here and there, but I just want to go through them here just in case someone missed out on them. I'm not gonna say every award because I do not really care about the whole like esports player and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, sorry.
Hit
I just
some of the major ones. Key in
Yeah.
on them.
best esports game, Overwatch, which I was like, oh really?
Am I surprised?
I'm not
Yeah.
surprised.
I'm just gonna give a little nod to this best student game, Level Squared. Not familiar with it, but when I saw it, I was like, ooh, that looks pretty cool. Best independent game, Cuphead.
Yep.
Most anticipated? No, I'm not doing that one because it's presented by McCafe, and I don't like the whole anticipated thing. Best multiplayer goes to
McDonald's.
Player Unknown's Battlegrounds. Best multiplayer.
Seriously, best multiplayer is that one.
Yeah.
They didn't think like Ghost Recon was Ghost Recon. What were the nominations for that one? Do you recall?
It was that one, Fortnite, Call of Duty World War II, Splatoon 2, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and Destiny 2.
You know, it's difficult, Joe, when you line up a row of trash cans. Yeah. You have to choose the best one.
Choose the best trash can as the one. That's not
Yeah.
true.
Well, you know what I'm surprised about, Jimmy. Why was Ghost Recon not in there? Wildlands.
Well, it's multiplayer, so it's probably like online, like fighting other people type of thing, not co-op.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
That category is a
Okay.
little skewed because there's so many.
Yeah, there's a
It
lot.
is.
Best strategy game, Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle. The weird thing about that one is there were a few awards on here that did not like. They were just kind of offhandedly like, oh yeah, they won that one.
Where
which
was
is kinda
Divinity 2? That totally beat up.
Well, technically, Divinity 2 was not. Technically, Divinity 2 is probably in the like role-playing stuff. I don't think it was nominated for that, or maybe it was too late. I don't know. Best family game, Super Mario Odyssey. Best fighting game. Now, this makes me a little angry because I completely agree with the winner, which was Injustice 2. However, did not give the award out on stage. They're like, and Injustice 2, yeah, won best fighting game. It's like the fighting game community. The fighting game community is one of the most like aggressive and like diehard communities. Yeah, passionate on the planet. And you bring up Ed Boon to give an award. That man deserves to receive an award because he's doing the best stuff DC's done in a long freaking time. And he just has to walk out there and give an award. Drives me freaking.
Injustice 2 is really good, and I played Mortal Kombat.
He probably thought that all the kids were going to be salty. Street Fighter 18, that should have won the award.
Well, you know what? And that, so let's say Mortal Kombat was that like last year though, because that was not. They're kind of going back and forth. Or 2 years ago. NetherRealms, they're killing it. Actually, best role playing game, Divinity: Original Sin 2 was nominated, but Persona 5 won. It's weird. That was another one that did not get awarded on stage, which is kind of sad because that was the only one Persona 5 won of the night for that. It's like they should have gone on stage. Best action adventure game, Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild. Let's see. Best action game, Wolfenstein 2. I was going to say none of
Have you ever played Wolfenstein?
I have. I'm going to be honest with you. I have not. I maybe played like a tiny bit of it here and there, but I've never like fully gotten into it. I want to try it, but I've heard it's good. It's like that and Doom. I just haven't made
I've
the
never
time.
been a big fan of it either. No, I never got into it.
I've heard they're fun, but best VR/AR game, Resident Evil 7, Biohazard. Almost, yeah, no duh. Like there's other good ones on this list, but that was like a full game that they made, and then they also made it just in VR. So imagine playing through the entirety of that game in virtual reality. That's
that would be unreal. Yeah,
that's pretty.
Yeah.
That's best handheld game.
Horror?
There's not. Nah, I don't think there's like a best horror category because that's too specific. Best handheld game goes to Metroid: Samus Returns. I'm not doing best mobile game. I do not care. Best ongoing game, which I thought for sure was going to be PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds, goes to Overwatch. Overwatch got to get up on stage. They did this whole tribute to Overwatch, man. They were just like orchestra thing. Crazy.
It's a popular game.
Yeah. Games for Impact for a thought-provoking game with a profound pro-social meaning or message went to Hellblade Senua's Sacrifice, which is really cool. And the actress, Melina Juergens, she won Best Performance, who was Senua in that game. And apparently it was her first acting job ever. She was a video editor at this place, and she went to try out for this role, and she did it. And like that's pretty crazy. And Andy Serkis gave her the award, and the first thing she said when she got it was like, thank you so much, like Mr. Serkis. I'm a huge fan of your work. Like, this is your first acting gig ever, and Andy Serkis gives you an award for it. I'd be like, I don't even want to talk to. I want to talk to Andy Serkis. I feel
Yeah.
like Andy Serkis. Oh my gosh, I could talk to that guy for so long. Best audio design went to Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice. I've heard they've got really good 360 surround because in that game, Joe, if you're not familiar with it, the main character has she's kind of, I don't know if like a paranoid schizophrenic, or she has multiple like split personalities, a bunch of voices in her head. So like they're always like telling you like someone's behind you, you know, you like turn around and you like block and stuff, and pretty cool. I think that's probably well deserved. Best score / music went to Nier Automata. Best art direction went to Cuphead. Best narrative, What Remains of Edith Finch, which is like a very narrative focused game. Best game direction went to Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild. And the game of the year also went to Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild. Big winners this year, Breath of the Wild, obviously, and Cuphead. Pretty interesting. We could talk about this a little bit if you guys want to touch on any of those. Levi, I know you said there's a few in there that kind of popped out to you. Was there anything you wanted to mention? I know you've been playing Cuphead a little bit.
Yeah, no, I agree. Art direction for Cuphead, absolutely. Breath of the Wild, no brainer. I'm still surprised by the amount of love, I guess, though. Just getting 2 years later. Year later,
Breath of the Wild,
huh? No,
Breath of the Wild. Oh, Overwatch. Oh yeah, Overwatch.
Yeah, still the love that Overwatch is getting.
Well, it's funny what they say about Overwatch because it's still they still say like their core group of players still plays like on a consistent basis. Like they haven't lost many people. It's unreal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
no, I agree with the nominations. Yeah, I don't think PlayerUnknown Battleground should have won, but that's just my opinion.
I was really, I'm not going to lie to you guys, I was really, really worried that PlayerUnknown Battleground was going to win Game of the Year, but it was also nominated for Ongoing. And the reason that bothers me is that, like, so Destiny 2 was nominated for Ongoing, but they weren't nominated for, like, Game of the Year as well. But Destiny 2 is out. Like, it's a game, and it's, like, fully released. And by the time of this recording, there is a version now. Like, PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds has, like, released its 1.0 version. But it's very strange, like, that they nominated it for a Game of the Year contender. It just seems like it probably knocked off another potential spot on there. I know a lot of people were clamoring for Nier Automata, but yeah, I'm glad it didn't take that home. I was pretty sure Breath of the Wild was going to take it home. It's a weird, in a year that both a Mario and a Zelda game come out. Those are kind of the top two. And unfortunately, Horizon Zero Dawn, which of course came out the same year as Breath of the Wild, didn't really stand much of a chance, which is too bad because that's still a really good game. The Game Awards themselves, I know you guys kind of watched a little bit of it here and there. Lots of Warframe commercials that were made, or trailers made by like their community, which is kind of like and there's a ton of Rocket League commercials, like like highly produced, like live action things that would cut to the gameplay of like the cars with the hats and stuff like that.
Which looks like a fun game, like pretty intense.
Yeah, Joe, I think you would really dig it, not just for the car aspect, but kind of think of like back to our Griffball days in Halo kind of thing. But yeah, that game has been immensely popular. That and Overwatch, I think, are two games that you could look at and say like, hey, people are still really playing that a lot and people really enjoy it. But yeah, the show itself, kind of interesting. Later on, it got kind of weird because like they stopped like giving out awards as much and they just kept doing like promotions and stuff. I know that advertising is a big thing. I just wish that next year, let's get the fighting game award on there. Like, even if it's fighting games we don't care about, like that would do a lot for that community. And I just like, I think you should do it. But yeah, pretty big deal. A lot of people tuned in for it. That's for dang sure. Are you guys?
Do me a favor and lay this on me. Seeing as how both of you have played Zelda Breath of the Wild, what made that a Game of the Year?
Levi, you want me to take this one?
I mean, yeah, we both can add things onto it. I'm sure we'll say a lot of the same things going.
I haven't had a lot of time with Breath of the Wild, but what I'll tell you is this. There's something kind of magical about that game. I as a fan of Horizon Zero Dawn and not getting a chance to play Breath of the Wild until more recently, I was kind of like, what has it got over, all this stuff? And playing through the Ocarina of Time, like I did recently as well, there's so many adjustments, so many changes. It's truly an evolution of the franchise instead of just an iteration, because a lot of these games to me seem like just that. Like, I would say that Super Mario Odyssey is like an iteration of where Mario's going. It's changing, but it's not like completely evolving into something crazy and new. Yeah, there are some new mechanics in that game, but it's not like, wow, I'm not like jumping with Mario. It's like I'm jumping in a totally different way, which I'm sure some people would say, yes, you are. You can jump off the Cappy. But the ability to climb almost anything, that right there, that makes for a crazy game because like you just say, hey, you want to climb that mountain, you can. It's just kind of hard to do, but like from a gameplay perspective, it just kind of lets you go wherever you want to go. It kind of leads you here and there and says like, hey, you should go do this quest or this quest. But a lot of the time I was just exploring. I was just like, I would climb up somewhere, find a chest, I'd go find a shrine. Some odd reason you can't go underwater, which is kind of weird, but the rest of it is just fun to do. I found myself like wanting to like explore areas that were way too tough for me and like try to kill things even though I died, try it again and be like, okay, I could try this. But it was just a lot of like experimentation, which is so much fun in that game because you're like, oh, I want to get that apple down, but I don't have any more arrows left. So you're like, okay, I guess I'll just whip. I have a mop on me. I'll just whip the mop up there. And you're like, oh, that worked. Or, or to get a Korok seed or something. But it's just so well done in that way. The game just looks beautiful. And it's just such a jolly kind of interesting environment that I just want to explore it. Like when I'm up high, like on these big towers, I look around, I'm like, I can go anywhere here. Like I could go anywhere. And being able to like glide down to any spot is so much fun too. I just think it's just kind of, it's magical. And I'm hoping that's like the new standard for open world games. So Levi, do you have anything you want to add to that?
I think a game like that should be rewarded for the amount of hype that it had and what it delivered.
Sure. Yeah.
Too much do we get games that are overhyped and then we don't get an actual finished product or, full experience that you were promised. I mean, yeah, Breath of the Wild did have some DLC, but the DLC was very enhancing and over anything and not just missing a part of the whole story that we're missing from the first game. But no, I mean, feel like that game should definitely be actually achieving it.
Sure. Yeah.
Open world plays, the sandbox, the art direction, the gameplay, puzzles, all around just a phenomenal.
Yeah.
I definitely agree.
I would say too, like the thing I didn't expect it to really go that hard on was the story, and there's actually a pretty good amount of story in there too that I really enjoyed. Yeah, like when you're talking, I got through the one of the divine beasts, this big dungeon, Joe, but it's like a big like mechanical elephant, and you have someone from your past that you kind of have a flashback to, and like that's kind of like a heartwarming moment. And I thought I was like, whoa, like this is really cool. Like there's they do a lot of cool stuff in that game, and I really recommend it. But just like I said, the experimentation. One thing I wanted to just little moment that I wanted to highlight is that it was raining outside, and there was like a place where I could cook food, but I couldn't get fire to it. So I went over to another kind of cave that had a fire, and I was like trying to I took my torch and I lit the fire and I lit on fire. Went outside, it put out the torch, and I'm like, dang it, I can't. How am I going to do this? And I was like, I have an idea. So I lit one of my arrows on fire and then shot it over to where the little cook pot area was, and that lit it on fire. And I was like, right there. It's like,
but
hey, there's something.
Put out that fire?
It was so quick, Joe. It was so quick. I don't know why I didn't put that fire out, but it was just like it worked, and it was just like one of those things that says like, hey, you tried to overcome this with experimentation, and it worked out for you, and now you can make some food to get like a health restoring item, and it's like, oh, cool, all right, sweet. So yeah, it's a good game, and I think you get a kick out of it, Joe. But yeah, I'm not surprised that one took it away. Plus, you look at a lot of the people who were voting this year, and a lot of people were influenced by Zelda, and the games industry was probably influenced by Zelda in a lot of ways, especially like the open world genre. So I'm not surprised that it got as much love as it did. So yeah, and congratulations to Zelda. Will it win the critic?
Anybody can pick up that game. Play
around. That's true. That anybody can pick it up, and even from a Zelda novice such as myself, I'm just like, all right, cool. I just have to learn the buttons on this controller. I'm like always going for A, and it's like that's B. I'm like, Xbox is throwing me off. But yeah, you guys gonna tune into next year's Video Game Awards after watching this one a little bit?
Oh yeah, along with you.
Oh, thank you. Well, I hope so. It'll be good. Joe's one way. Was like, yeah, I'm gonna dress up in my suit and it'll be great. Anyway, all right, guys. Enough news. We're done talking about news. We need to talk about the biggest thing to come out this week. We had a full week last week of teasers up to the actual release of Jurassic World: The Fallen Kingdom trailer.
Yeah.
Joe, what do you think about this, man? How do you feel now that you see this thing?
Now that I've seen this full trailer. I have a lot of questions. Like I find it hard to believe the basis for this plot. You know what I mean? Like there's a volcano, which they didn't know was active or that there was a potential to be active when they built that park. Like, if there was even a fraction of a chance, we have to treat it as an absolute certainty.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Like, I keep going back to realistic terms of thinking, and I'm like, how would an insurance company ever insure that place?
I think
Like, okay, we're gonna build on a possibly active volcano at the base of it. We're gonna have tons of dinosaurs. Our security team is novice at best. I just what?
you have to. I understand that the security thing I think is a little less forgivable. I think you have to get away from thinking about like the actual construction and insurance policy of the place and just say like, okay, it exists. If I can buy the dinosaurs are running around, then I'm just gonna have to buy the fact they had enough money to do all this, and they paid off an insurance claims adjuster. It's just like he's like, I guess if you want to make it here, you want to make it here. Yeah, so it seems like the general plot this time around is like they're going to the island to save the dinosaurs from the imminent destruction, like a volcano that's underneath or by Jurassic World. And apparently, the director, or Colin Trevorrow, who's was the director and the last one's the producer now, one of them said that this trailer is the first 57 minutes of the film only. So we might be going to a second location, probably.
And everybody's taking leaps and bounds and going, they're taking it back to the civilization. It's going to be apocalyptic.
It's going to be Jurassic Park 2 all over again.
Yeah, Lost World. That's. I'm so afraid that's going to happen. I'm sure they'll do an homage to it, but like,
I do love the scene with the dog and the T-Rex.
Yeah, the dog gets away. The T-Rex bites the chain, and the dog gets away. That's the extended cut. I hate that third act.
I'm sorry.
That's third act. No, a dog gets away. Third act doesn't like. Why? Why does that even need a third act to that film? That film's long enough as is. Anyway,
I've heard other people say this about that moment in Lost World, and I think there's a lot of speculation. And I mean, let's face it, it's very likely that this is what's going to happen in this movie. But that the dinosaurs are going to somehow get loose in civilization, wreak havoc, and people have referred to it as when that happens, it takes the not nostalgia. That's probably not the right word. The what's the right word for this? The magical feeling away, like the whole dinosaurs roaming. You know,
it's like the magical feeling of seeing dinosaurs.
Yeah, it brings it to reality, and you're just kind of displaces you a little bit. Like where the setting of a park on an island like that, it's much more fitting and suitable for those characters, those animals.
I think I know the term you're looking for, like immersion breaking.
Yeah, exactly. Very technical, Jimmy. I like that. But you're always good for the very eloquent language.
Good for something. Sorry, what?
No, I've heard people refer to that, and I'm like, you're right. But and one person in particular was talking about it was a YouTube, another like podcast type of thing, and they were talking about it, and like, you know, their personal feelings on it were that it didn't bug them when the T-Rex got loose there. It was kind of like a plausible thing, like, okay, yeah, they were stealing it, bringing it to a park mainland, more attention, more access for the public. But and it was placed well in that it was the ending, so it didn't quite ruin the movie for you if you didn't like that sort of thing. The rest of it was pretty good and substantial, and that little gag at the end was like, you know, a certain portion of the audience probably enjoyed it and thought, yeah, finally. Let's face it, would they have got it back into the boat? No.
Well, the question is, how did it
quickly?
Well, something killed those operators on the boat, and then the T-Rex also locked itself back in the pen, but then it broke out of the pen. Like, who killed those guys?
I'm just gonna hide down here, guys. I'm just gonna hide down here.
It's like, maybe they'll finally get to that, because I know that Ian Malcolm's going to be back here. Jeff Goldblum is coming back for this one. I don't think he's going to be like directly involved with a lot of this stuff.
No.
Like, you know, Chris Pratt. What was that, Levi?
He's probably going to be a small cameo.
Yeah, exactly. But maybe they'll talk about that, because there's always been like a theory that there's like a shadow organization, like maybe a competitor of InGen or whatever, who like went and massacred those people on the boat and like let the T-Rex free or something like that, and made it look
That
like
would
a
be
dinosaur attack.
cool. Yeah.
It's like, what kind of sick people would go onto this boat, like
I know.
butcher these people, like kill them and then butcher them? Like,
It wasn't just kill them; it was butcher them.
it's like,
Make
all right,
them
so
they were eaten.
yeah, like cut off the dude's arm and then have it be like on the thing, and like, yeah, it's like, anyway.
Yeah, it is kind of so that raised questions. Since we're on it, I just want to talk about it for a second because it is odd. It's like, so you're telling, as a kid, you know, I was young when that came out. What was that, like maybe 2000, 99, right around there?
I'll fact check.
2001, maybe. I was like, as a kid, I was like, man, did that T-Rex somehow kill them and then it was still locked inside, or it accidentally got locked back in the boat, or
Good old year of 1997, by the way.
Wasn't that the Raptors? Wasn't the Raptors that killed the people?
There weren't any Raptors on that boat.
What happened to the Raptors?
On the boat, there were Raptors on the boat, right?
I think there was just the T-Rex.
Okay, what happened to the Raptors when they reached land?
I don't think there are any Raptors, guys. I think it's just the T-Rex and the baby T-Rex. I'm pretty sure there weren't any Raptors
the baby
on there.
T-Rex is what killed them. Okay, that's what.
Or that's what it was.
No, because they were locked in the hall the whole time.
Plot hole. I'll look it up. Anyway, let's circle back around to Fallen Kingdom. Levi, how do you feel about Fallen Kingdom now that we have a full trailer of it? Are you a big Jurassic Park fan, Jurassic World fan?
I'm a huge Jurassic Park fan. Not so much a Jurassic World fan.
Okay.
I liked Jurassic World. It was good. I didn't like how formulaic it was. They brought the theme park back and then destroyed it again. It's like,
sure.
It was almost like it got destroyed too quickly. Like you wonder if it would have been like okay, then Dominus was taken care of, and then they kind of like rebuilt parts of the park and brought it back up to snuff and opened again. And maybe now they're going to build up to a whole decrepit, parks destroyed kind of moment. It was just very fast. So now they're at that point where how do they develop a legit plot? I don't know.
Yeah, and I mean dinosaurs so like hero-like at the end of the film. You know, they're against you the whole film, and then at the very end, it's like, no, the T-Rex is actually on the human side. He's gonna help. Like, these are my buddies. No, like, why would you play it off like that? And in this film too, the big dinosaur comes out in the trailer, and then the other T-Rex comes out, and it's like, it's my buddies. Like, no, stop.
That was okay in this trailer though, but I agree with you at the end of that movie, the whole bro moment between the Velociraptor and the T-Rex, it was just all ridiculous. But
okay, the Carnotaurus dying in this trailer is not okay. You don't show that in your trailer, all right? What are you trying to do? Like, why you take any suspense of that thing charging that sphere and you take it away because you're like, oh, that's T-Rex killed it. But then and then also, how do they get the T-Rex out of there? Because you show it on the boat later. There's like smoke coming down the mountain. It's like, hey, T-Rex, we gotta get to the boat. T-Rex like, like, you know, it's like
the sequels will never be as good as Jurassic Park because Jurassic Park had the best setting. You know, it was eerie with all these dinosaurs. Life. It was like, what are we going to experience? This is a huge world. Look at all these actual dinosaurs in life, and it was perfect. Everything was perfect about Jurassic Park. Everything just went downhill, movie after movie. I actually really like Jurassic Park. I will say that, but not a lot of people do.
Which one do you like? Sorry, you cut out.
I like Jurassic Park 3 quite a bit.
Oh yeah.
I really like that film actually. A lot of people don't, but whatever. Thought it was much better than the second one, but
I think the problem people have with that one is it gets a little corny with the whole like Velociraptor dream, which I think is hilarious. But
Alan.
Yeah. I love that part. Oh man, there's so much good stuff in that one because
Jurassic Park 3 was cool. I like how they. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh no, it's fine. It's all right. We're all excited about Jurassic Park 3. Share your love. Share it. I want to hear these things. It's so good.
Okay, all right. Finish your thought, pal. I'm sorry.
Well, I just gotta say, there's like the moment they're in the lab, and there's like the Velociraptor that looks like it's got its face in like the tube, but it's actually like a living Velociraptor, and it goes after him. You see Velociraptors for the first time, besides I guess Lost World, but you see them at full speed, like running through a field, which is really cool. And not to mention that Pteranodon scene. How do you make those things creepy? You put them in a gigantic bird cage, and you make it all smoky and foggy, and you have it climb across like a bridge. Oh man. And
the way they find out it was a bird cage, and he's like looking around, and he kind of catches a glimpse up above. He's like, "It's a goddamn bird cage."
Oh, yeah, and then that thing turns like that full like audio or the puppet. It just like looks right, like it's like that thing's freaking me out.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
So good. I love
Like a
it. Anyway.
total monster moment. Here's the thing. We've just kind of touched on a few moments where Jurassic Park 3 had a lot of the same elements as the first one did. The suspense, the thrill, the scare, that more mysterious, ominous feel where, it's unexpected. When I was younger and I'm watching that moment where the Velociraptor is pretending to be like a head in a jar, they're looking at it like, whoa, and then they see the eye move. How cool is that? Like, that is like, oh God,
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about this, I think last week, Jimmy, but excuse me, I'm really excited about the fact that this director that's on board for Fallen Kingdom has publicly said that he wants to get back to the roots a little more on how Jurassic Park 1 was filmed, with more thrill and suspense, and not so much just dinosaurs being shown like full face out in the open all the time. It's more like popping out from the shadows kind of a deal, kind of embracing a little more of that horror aspect, or monster movie aspect, if you will.
Which made the first one so popular.
Exactly. The Velociraptor's in the tunnel when she's turning the power back on. All things like that. The kitchen
still gives me
moment.
chills. Oh,
The kids in the kitchen. I could barely watch that as a kid. I was so scared. But
I think another part that we always forget about, I'm gonna let you continue here, Joe, it's just the cast. Like the fact that there were a bunch of no names in that film. They all were trying their hardest. Like, I don't feel like that's the case anymore.
now it's all about get some big names on the screen to get people there. And to me, that's not even a factor. It's the dinosaurs purely.
Yeah.
I don't need freaking Chris Pratt in this movie.
I just don't.
Take him or leave him. I don't give a crap.
I was so bummed when those kids were featured in like the second one, like 2 seconds. And I'm like, no, they were good kids.
I don't know. The vibe I get from this one, guys, is that it feels like a mix of like 3 and 2. You kind of have like the beginning where they're kind of in the bar or whatever, and they're talking about like getting Chris Pratt to go back, and they kind of have to lure him back. They're kind of like Dr. Alan Grant, and then it's kind of like it all goes wrong, but there's also like a ton of military people there, which is kind of the Lost World vibe, which is a cool vibe. If you go watch Lost World, that's an interesting concept to have a bunch of like military guys trying to go and like wrangle up a bunch of dinosaurs. It's like, okay, some of them are cool, some of them are idiots. Like, as that one guy who dies to the copies. You're like,
yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Comparatively to the first trailer, they do show a lot in this one, but if it's relegated to the first hour of the film, I'm really hopeful that we'll get another hour that we just don't know anything about, which would be great.
Sure.
So that means that first hour is going to move pretty quickly because they show a lot of stuff happening. So,
you touched on a good point, though, and it kind of solidifies the fact that we all know they still show too much. Yeah, they show it in the wrong way, or they didn't clip it together right. I agree with you in that, like, generate some mysteriousness to this film. Like, that what is it? Carnosaurus?
Carnotaurus. So it's a meat-eating bull. Carnotaurus.
Yeah, cool. Oh.
Thank you, Disney World, for teaching me that countdown to extinction will never die. I don't care if they call it dinosaur. Sorry, keep going.
Well, anywho, yeah, they should have showed
got a little car here from the ride. Sorry, what? Sorry, it's a little car from the ride. Anyway, keep going.
No, is that Carnotaurus shows up and peers around the sphere. Leave it at that, and then maybe tease it with a quick edit of like a rumble or a roar, and the Carnotaurus looks away or something of that nature, and then just leave it at that.
Well, there's much bigger moments, so maybe that's why they showed it, because they're like, this is one of many.
Well, it's just all it reminded me of was the exact same shot when the T-Rex killed it. There's like fire and smoke behind it as the Indominus Rex turning with the helicopter exploding behind it, and I was like this is supposed to be the money shot of your film, but like you're showing it in the trailer. Show this as the trailer like a week or two after the movie comes out to get people to know, oh wow, that's a really cool shot. I really want to go see this movie, because like for people like us who are going to see it regardless. I mean, come on, like don't show me all this stuff. Like,
let's get another dream sequence too, and that's what Chris.
Yeah. I just I don't know. I'm hopeful for this one because Jurassic World, I was excited that I was kind of coming back, but you know, Joe, like you said, if they're going to do more of a horror focus, maybe especially in this latter hour of the film, maybe we'll get a trailer based on that. I don't want to watch anymore personally. Like I feel like I've seen enough. But so as we always do, hypometer. Levi, let's start with you from 0 to 100 degrees. 0 being I don't care at all, to 100 degrees being like, oh baby, I got to see it right now. Where do you sit with Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom?
80%.
Okay.
I want to go back and rewatch Jurassic World after talking about it with you guys, but 80 right now.
Cool. Nice.
Yeah.
Joe, how about you?
Well, I'm sitting at a pretty steamy 90. Here's the thing: is I'm hopeful for it. I probably shouldn't get my hopes up so high. Shame on me, but I'm hopeful for it, and mainly because I just cannot deny the appeal that dinosaurs have to me. If I can see them in any facet, I'm all about it. But I'm nervous at the same time. So there's that 10% of real nervousness that I'm just like, ugh.
I think it's justified. Well, I'm really hoping they do make that move back to animatronics and stuff. They talk about that, but then you see most of this trailer is like 100 CGI dinosaurs. So hopefully after that hour or whatever that is, they get right to just like 2 or 3 like really well done looking ones.
And they can do really accurate practical effects now with our technology of producing that stuff.
They totally can. They have the money for it too, especially after that first movie made like $500 million in one weekend. It's like, guys, you can put the money into this. Like, please do. Like, you've got it. Because this one will make a lot of money too. For me personally, I might split the difference between you boys. I might say 85 degrees. I obviously I'm a Jurassic Park fan. I love dinosaurs, always have, and this is the best and biggest franchise to do that. And I think that Honest Trailers made a really good joke about the last one with Jurassic World being like the biggest budgeted sci-fi film of all time. Like it feels like a sci-fi like made for TV movie because it's just like, oh, look at how many dinosaurs are on screen at the same time. And I'm hoping that this is not that. So,
but. If saying it wasn't enough, obviously the shirt you're wearing does. So
yeah, well, I mean, I support that this first film. I'm not kidding you guys. Behind Lord of the Rings is my like all-time favorite movie. I find it hard to find flaws in it. You can look, you can see a person's hand on the Velociraptor's back when they're like walking into the kitchen. You have to look for it, be eagle-eyed, but just steadying it. It's like very minute, like flaws,
really?
but like
I want to look for that.
The film itself is so good, and I hope they do kind of come back to some of the past transgressions of the earlier trilogy, kind of like what happened to the DNA of, in that Barbasol can. And they've talked about maybe a competing company. That's what I would like to see. Like let's take it in a new direction, but also keep what made it so good in the first place, the horror aspects and the good characters, which maybe the good characters aren't going to be there because it's Chris Pratt again and Bryce Dallas Howard, and maybe she'll be running in high heels. Maybe they'll make a joke.
What if they got Jeff Goldblum back in the courtroom and he's like testifying on how they should deal with the island and all that, and clearly it's like a whole like protection type thing. Should we help these animals, these creatures that are in danger because of the volcano and all that? Do they deserve it, or are they just man-made creations that really they shouldn't exist anyway? So let them die. But all of a sudden, Alan Alda walks into the courtroom.
Why would Alan Alda walk into the courtroom? You mean Alan Grant?
I mean Alan Grant.
It's like, it'd be really great if you like, we're gonna need Alan Alda here immediately. They're like, it's like a big moment, like a reveal, and people are like, what? By the way, Levi, to answer your question quickly, before we address Joe there, J.A. Bayona?
Yeah, I just looked it up.
Okay. I don't want to spoil this for anybody. Well, I don't want to. There have been rumors that there could be an appearance by him, but
but I've also seen an interview about another little movie he did that probably no one has really heard of. I hadn't heard of it, but it was like a little sit down with a guy interviewing him. And what about Jurassic World 2? You think Alan Grant will make an appearance? Have they made any phone calls to you? And he's like, well, let's just say that phone call has not happened. And I'm like, oh.
He lies. No, I'm just kidding.
Lies.
I still posit that he is one of the best things about that whole thing. That's why I love Jurassic Park 3 so much, is his intro even, where he's giving that talk to all those people on that stage, and then he kind of goes through talking about all this stuff and maybe raptors, and he's like, all right, who's got questions? And then he's like, all right, are there any questions that aren't regarding, the first film, basically? And then like half the hands go down. Like, anybody about the ones like in Lost Worlds, which I wasn't a part of, and they're all just like everybody puts their hands down. They all just want to ask him like, so like, did you fight raptors or something? Because like as an archaeologist, that's what most of us would be like. Whoa, you saw real dinosaurs? Oh, cool. Let's talk about that. I just love his performance. He's such an easygoing, great guy.
Something that bugs me, and I don't know if you guys have thought about it much, but I wish that they would stop messing with the Velociraptor's design.
I kind of like the evolution a little in 3, though. I like the little bit of the feathers, like the actual version of them is starting to pop out a little. On top. Yeah, which, oh, by the way, I looked it up. They said that in the Lost World, apparently there was supposed to be a scene with the Velociraptors on the boat that go and kill everybody, but they like scrapped that. So that's why that scene feels really strange, because there's like, oh, why are those guys butchered and ripped apart and just body parts of them? So apparently there might have been raptors out there. They just didn't show.
Yeah, the raptors were on the boat and they were killing everybody because the boat never would have made it to the port if they wouldn't have killed them like midway across the journey.
Yeah, I just want to know.
So
like,
all of a sudden the Velociraptors are like, all right, I'm not hungry anymore. Let's go for a swim.
I just want to see a fat Velociraptor that's eaten too much, or just like one that's completely sated and it doesn't want to kill, or it's just kind of like, no thanks. I've eaten like 4 things. You know what I mean? Like, do they ever get full? Like, that's what
I don't get. Or even the T-Rex. I mean, how much does it really need to eat before it's just like, maybe tomorrow?
Yeah, it doesn't want to eat. It wants to hunt or whatever. And then it finally gives up and it's like, well, here's a goat. See, now I know that goat. It barely got away. It lost a leg in Jurassic Park, but the rest of it got away. That's why it's so. Well, actually, they kind of show it going down its gullet, don't they?
Yeah, or maybe they do some sort of scientifical conversation-based thing where characters talking to another. Chris Pratt's talking to somebody. He's like, well, contrary to what we believe or what we think, they're not just killing to eat. They kill for territory and literally just for the sake of not having, they're territorial and aggressive, period. True. So maybe depict the T-Rex instead of eating something, just show it like chomping somebody and leaving it lay.
Sure.
I don't know. Or like this Carnotaurus. Is it going to kill it and then just start eating?
Yeah, I don't know. That whole it's weird.
I hope they don't show too much of that, because eventually it is like, okay, how much does this thing really want to kill and eat? I mean, for crying out loud.
Yeah. Well, they kind of made a sense with like Indominus Rex, where it was like confused and it could kill things, so it did kill things. But good question. Regardless of all these flaws and kind of things we're kind of nervous about, obviously, if our average is about 85 degrees, on this one, we're pretty excited about it. I want to know what you guys think. I'll probably link the trailer down below, but we'll see how that gets fleshed out. We have to wait till June, I think 22nd, till it comes out. So big year for movies. Hey, is that really your birthday?
Yeah, man, dinosaurs on my birthday. Can't go wrong.
If only I knew, and if only we could meet up and watch it together, all 3 of us. Anyway, now it's that time of the show that wait a second. Oh my gosh. I almost got into a segment when I didn't mean to get into a segment, because it's our time to salute our commander, Jonathan Larson. Can't forget about Jonathan.
Jonathan Larson.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, our $100 patron on Patreon. We salute you, right, Joe or Levi?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Salutes, Jonathan. Salutes, friend.
And as Jonathan likes to say, their fate concerns me. Yours does not. No, it doesn't. But that's probably he would have been a bad choice for the role of Chris Pratt or Owen on this show. You're doing like, their fate concerns me. Yours does not. He's like talking to Bryce Dallas Howard, and she's like. But
I thought you.
I do love that actress, by the way. I will say The Village is one of my favorite movies. Contrary to a lot of beliefs, and loved her in it.
Sure. I already know the twist, so it's already lost on me. Anyway, the twist.
I like her too, by the way. I like her in this role. She's cool.
Yeah, she's fine. She's fine. Their chemistry doesn't really. I don't know. We could probably talk about that in the commentary, but it doesn't really do it for me. Plus, I don't know. It's just like a weird. Anyway, I prefer Ellie Sattler, who in that first movie she gets out of that dinosaur pen, and the Velociraptors, turn the power back on. She's behind the gate, just like completely terrified. It's like I would be too. I would be too. All right. Anyway, it's that time of the show that I like to call, that Levi likes to call, Joe likes to call.
Timekillers.
Right.
I was gonna say time crunch, time magic.
It's time for Timekillers. It's the games we've been playing, the movies we're watching, the TV shows we've been viewing. And because Levi feels like he's got a lot to say about this, Levi, why don't you start us off, man? What have you been killing time with?
I've been streaming a lot of Cuphead lately. I
Dang.
actually really like that game. It's actually a little addicting, a lot of fun.
Yeah.
For a $16 game, you can't beat it right now.
Yeah. I'm tempted.
Yeah,
Cuphead.
and I don't have
Explain
my
it real quick. What is the character? Or what?
Cuphead. It had a little bit of a gambling problem. So the devil took his soul, and in order to get his soul back, he needs to collect debts from all these other villains that belong to the devil and get his soul back. So
Yeah, it's pretty standard stuff.
my partner Doug was like, "Well, this looks like a kid's game," and I'm like, "Definitely is not a kid's game. Wait till you watch a little bit of it."
Yeah.
I don't have my Switch at the moment because some jerk is borrowing it.
I'd say you probably try to be understanding to this jerk because you're probably like, you maybe made this jerk want to buy a Switch.
Beep. And so, no, but yeah, I was playing a lot of Switch earlier before James was borrowing it to get some time.
Thank you.
But yeah, not really anything else. Saw Hanzo was released on Heroes.
Oh yeah, we gotta try that out. I gotta get back to that. It's been busy times. All right, Joe, what have you been killing time with, pal?
Ooh, me killing time. I've gotten back into Grand Theft Auto.
5.
Cricket.
5. Yeah. Is it 5 or is it 4? I don't know. How many are there?
5. It's 5.
Yeah. But anywho, Grand Theft Auto 5, our buddy Drew, him and we picked it up. I think we were playing Injustice 2 for a while the other night this past weekend. And Drew's like, hey, want to just, chill and kill some people on Grand Theft Auto? I'm like, yeah, some of my favorite things. So we picked that up. We were playing a little bit, and Drew had enough money, so he bought a bunker. And I don't know if any of our followers keep up on GTA at all, but I mean, Rockstar clearly, they are committed to this game. As long as it's been out, they're still coming out with new content and updates and cool things that you can do to stay immersed in this game world. And the business aspect of it is really cool. So he invites me to his biker gang. So we've got a clubhouse and everything. And then we go and buy this bunker. So our biker gang is running guns, basically. So we are stealing supplies from companies and supply trucks or other rival gangs. And we are manufacturing weapons and delivering them for money. And it's really neat. You get all sorts of perks, for certain missions that you're doing. So if you got to go take down some helicopters that are transporting some materials, they give you like a gun with an or a truck with an anti-aircraft gun on the back. Guy drives, guy guns. My favorite part about this whole business situation and this gang deal is that you don't have to rely on other public online players.
That's nice.
This is clearly you and your buddies. If you're together, you're together. You don't have to ready up or get in matches or loading screens. It's purely just, okay, we're going to go do this. Drew invites us to it, and we go and do it. And there's no shift in between. You just pop up outside, and it's there. You start, and you do your thing, and you're all reaping the rewards for it. So it is fun. It is still a good time. As you're transporting supplies, you start broadcasting to everybody in your session. So, if you got 30, 40 people in the session, they're all getting a message saying, I think our name, we're called the Knuckle Dusters. So
I'm gonna stop you right there. I'm just kidding.
It'll say to the other people, the Knuckle Dusters are transporting a shipment to a buyer. Stop them to gang XP and supplies. And so people show up in jets. They'll show up in helicopters. But luckily, you have ways of dealing with this. The lock-on rocket launcher, all that, they got to be really good to stop you. Sure. And we've had good success. And it adds another dimension to this kind of role-playing in this business, in that, you have to worry about the other online players interfering. So it's not just AI type stuff. It's really cool, and it makes it enjoyable. And man, we've had some fun moments. I mean, you know, when we used to play together, Jimmy, we had some fun moments trying to steal a truck or whatever. We got the cops on us and we're out in the middle of nowhere. I'm driving the bus on 2 wheels in a creek, and we just get lucky and we get out of there and we complete the mission. I mean, nail biting stuff, and it is a really good time. So, and it really applies itself to allowing you to be creative in what you do in your game plan and stuff. So, the game is still good, man. It's still relative. It's still a fun time. You can really kill some time in there. So, just played it last night myself, and then this past weekend with Drew, and
I have a
having
dumb
good time.
question for you.
Yeah.
Is GTA 5 separate from GTA Online? Is it the same game, just a different expansion part of it, or what's
No,
the
it's
difference?
the same game. You essentially have 2 profiles. So on GTA 5, you
Oh,
have
okay.
right when you load in, it's like, do you want to load into online or do you want to play story mode? And
Okay.
you go to online, and it's the same city, same world, just a different character, and it's your custom character that you've created. And you know, I hear the story's really good in that game. A lot of people loved it and played it through. A couple of my friends had when it first came out on 360. But the online is just so immersive and so many things to do, and you just can't help but have fun with it. It's a little addicting. But
Yeah, I got a lot of buddies that were like, "Oh, I'm playing online," and I'm like, "Isn't it the same?" Wait, I didn't get it. So cool. Thanks for clarifying.
yeah, I don't know. I really think it's worth a shot. I'm trying to get Jimmy hooked here and get him back
No,
into it.
I'll tell you why. Here's a few reasons.
Yeah,
First off, you
lay it
say
on us.
fun times, I say stressful times. I have rarely ever felt like, oh, this is an elation, because when we would somehow on the skin of our teeth finish off something that took us like 3 hours to do because we kept getting crazy fourth man who just is like, you know what, I'm doing my own thing, goes running off into the desert and starts picking a fight with somebody. You're like, no, like, come back to us. Also,
Yep.
my loading times were ridiculous. Sometimes I'd stare at those clouds for like good part of an hour. It drove me mad out of my mind. And I was like, I won't come back. Joe's like, please come back, try it again.
Yeah,
All right, well,
yeah.
maybe I'll boot it up one day so I can look at that beautiful cloudscape, because every time I tried to join like Joe's party, it was just be like, here are the clouds. You're in the clouds. So, like,
But here's the thing. That's the thing is, if we, because you had issues with that, and you had a lot of issues with the getting into a heist with us or whatever when we
Yeah.
invite people, that sort of a thing. And I had an issue or two myself with that. It didn't always work 100%. And yeah, you always had to rely on that one guy that you didn't know. You did stupid stuff and busted the whole thing for you, and you had to retry. And then eventually he would give up and quit, and you'd have to start over again with a new matchmaking. And it was extremely frustrating. And I don't deny that. That's where I think the main focus here, or the main point I want to hit home, and the reason I'm enjoying it again, is because I don't have to deal with any of that bull crap.
Yeah.
It's me and whoever's in my gang, and we just go. You know, there's no, hey, join my operation that we got to do. You know, it's you and your gang, and that is it. And that's what I like about it. So as long as you can get in the same session as somebody, which we haven't had any trouble with lately, you're good to go. You're golden. So, but yeah, that's mainly what I've been playing lately. I've kind of laid off the Call of Duty World War II for a little bit. I did play quite a bit of Overwatch since our last podcast, just to kill time, just because I really enjoy it, which I want to play again maybe this weekend, because I want to see what came out for the holiday event.
Sure.
I know they did talk about a lot of skins that they were releasing for this Christmas, and a couple maps are done up in Christmas theme, which I always kind of enjoy. Kind of last year during the holidays, I thought it was neat, and it was kind of, you know, it's weird that you can get that feeling, that Christmas spirit type feeling, that aura from a game.
Warm and cozy.
Yeah, it just kind of helps to hit home even more. Like, even in my games, I'm getting the holiday spirit. You know, it's a good time. I like it. So,
cool.
But that's been about it. So,
fair enough. All right. Last but not least, me. So I want to start by talking about a show first that everyone should watch. I've been telling everybody to watch it. I finished up the 4th and final season of Turned: Washington Spies on Netflix. If you like history, if you like kind of suspense, if you like Revolutionary War times, even if you don't like any of that stuff, Great cast by the AMC folks, the guys who've done like Walking Dead, Mad Men, and stuff. So the budget is definitely there. Really great show. Only 10 episodes per season, so you're only watching like, I think it's like 40. I don't know if it's fully 10 on each side, so but roughly 40 episodes altogether. But really compelling stuff, really interesting show. I highly recommend you check it out. And the other thing, the big thing, thanks to Levi for lending me his Switch, I just finished up the main campaign of Super Mario Odyssey. Been playing it a little bit on the big TV here, but then I also just kind of like grab handheld, sit in my bed with my little Pokemon blanket you see in the background here. I feel like a true Nintendo fanboy when I'm wrapped up in that and I'm playing Mario. I'm like, this is nice. But there's a really cool moment near the end of the campaign. I don't want to spoil for anybody, but was excellent, using your Cappy or possession powers on something. And I was just like, wow, I really like that. I wish I would have played that on the big screen. But yeah, really cool game. But I think I only have like, I don't even know if I have 200 stars, honestly. I don't think I do. And there's like 999 in the game. So I've been going back through and checking stuff out and kind of getting a feel for it. I do miss Zelda, though. I will say that. I miss it, actually. And I'm hoping to get back to that soon. So yeah, those are the biggest things I've been personally killing time with. Now it's time to move into the final segment of the show, my favorite segment, community feedback and questions. So guys, this week I asked our lovely Legionnaires what their favorite dinosaur was and why, because we're talking Jurassic World this week, so I figured why not talk about this a little bit. So our buddy Ryan says, Stegosaurus, I like the spine it has, and it probably wouldn't try to kill me, which I replied, if you don't go after its kids like they do in Lost World, you'll be fine. Missile Mage says Barney the Purple, or just Barney because he's purple. Either way, I like it. And our friend Athena, she said Megalodon, all that teeth. And I said, well, technically not a dinosaur. However, we're going to accept it because, you know, it's really cool. Good choice. Anna says Brachiosaurus, pretty shape and long neck. Diplodocus, I would have one as a pet, and Triceratops because crown and horns, which really can't defy that logic. I think that's pretty good logic. Guys, what's your favorite dinosaur, by the way? Do you guys each have a favorite dinosaur?
Not really. Yeah. Oh, you know what? I like the what is sort of like the turtle ones, the Stegosaurus.
Ankylosaurus or Ankylosaurus?
Yeah, Ankylosaurus. Yes, I love Ankylosaurus. Yep. In Ark, I used to always tame those guys. And
yeah, they're cute. They're cute. Joe, how about you, man? What's your favorite?
Ooh, a favorite. This is tough, but you know, it's such a everybody would answer this. It's either T-Rex or Velociraptor, but I always like the Velociraptor, more specifically the Utah Raptor, because it's more correct to scale and portrays that look that they use in Jurassic Park a bit better. But
Joe, you're giving me a case of the vapors right there because you was just saying the exact same thing I was thinking, and I thought that was very good. I was like, holy crap, he's in my brain.
Yeah, but no, I just love that appeal and that scare factor.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, man. I'm right there with you. That's the ones I think about too. That's what I think about too. I also really love the Carnotaurus. It's a bit different that we see here in Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom compared to like the ride I was talking about, where it's a bit redder, it's a bit chunkier, it's a bit bigger. But I don't think the Carnotaurus is like the same size as a T-Rex. But
Carnotaurus reminds me a lot of like an Allosaurus. Like I think an Allosaurus was like second to T-Rex.
Sure.
And you could identify it based on like the bony protrusions above its eyebrow type of deal.
Ironically, I think they've featured Carnotaurus in the arcade games, but it always has like a chameleon ability where it can kind of like go camouflage. So it's like kind of weird. That's what this one will have. They'll kill it, but then it'll be like, and it'll go out and get dominus. Well, let's start off.
Hey, hold on. In the herbivore category, Brachiosaurus for show, the one that sneezes snot all over Alan.
Yeah, man, I always forget about that scene because I just think of that incredible shot in the beginning when you see it and they get out of the Jeep and he like turns Ellie's head and she's just like, oh my God. It's like, yeah, Brachiosaurus is.
Dun, 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 dun.
All right, we're starting off with a hard-hitting question from our friend Missile Mage because there's been a little bit of controversy about this type of thing lately, and I wanted to get your boys' opinion on it. So you want to ask a question about our thoughts on whether gaming journalists' personalities should avoid working together if they have differing political views, and whether people deserve backlash from their communities because they talked to or had a discussion with personalities they do not agree with. I know, Levi, we talked about this a little bit, but Joe, I kind of wanted to get your thought on that. you know,
Are we talking actual politics, like government?
Yes, like legitimate, like politics and things like that, because there's been a few instances I think of that recently, and I was interested. I didn't want to shy away from a question that might be a little tougher to answer, but
well, I'll take lead on it if you want right off the bat. My personal opinion on it is keep it's just separation of church and state, and let's consider this church, right?
I kind of like that.
There's a reason they say don't bring up politics at the dinner table at Thanksgiving. It's just it just kind of hits home the fact of how evil and it just how horrible politics are in general.
Sure.
And politics in general have really, I think, to a lot of people, taken a turn to where their politics are, what do you want to say, not taken seriously. It's not like the old days of patriotism and all that. It's more now so it's solely almost based on ideals and what you think is right or wrong, and nobody, and let's face it, there's almost no one who really has a truly intimate and thorough understanding of how politics really work or all the factors involved. Whether it be voting for a president, supporting a president, you're with that party, this party, or you support this movement, your state, federal government, all that sort of stuff. It's just bad mojo. If you want that to be a public thing, you should save it for your news spot on Fox or CNN. I don't know that I would ever want that in my personal life or something that I consider fun. Politics aren't fun. I would never bring that to this table.
Sure. But I guess, to kind of get more to the heart of the question here, do you think, like, if you personally, would you want to be on somebody's show that you knew had very differing political opinions and was very, they talked about them a lot, would that bother you at all? Would you care?
Yeah. So if, for instance, you were like a diehard Republican, like hot and heavy, and I was the most democratic person you had ever met, like feed the people, take my money, do what you want with it. That was probably not the right thing to say, but whatever. You know what I mean? Like, say we were on total opposite ends of the spectrum. The thing is I still respect you. You're still one of my best friends, and I get along with you so well that how could I let something like that get into the way of the relationship? Same thing for anybody. I just that shouldn't be the determining factor. You may disagree with it, but on every other plane, you're kind of on the same eye level with them. You know what I mean? So it really shouldn't be a factor. The thing is that makes it difficult. And if somebody was, like if I didn't know you or you were from another, say famous podcast, and I was from another really famous podcast, and we wanted to do a collab, but we both were on different ends of the spectrum, and it was publicly shared that we were, and like followers knew it and everything. That's just, you're setting yourself up for bad feedback and bad mojo right off the bat. You just need to keep things like that. It's not good to share that publicly, because you kind of, first of all, you segregate yourself from a lot of fan base or public consumption. I mean, people, if they know that about you and and they feel that strongly about it, it's an automatic turnoff for them. So it's just purely, it's bad business. But as far as the relationship thing goes, I mean, yeah, you shouldn't let that get in the way of it, right? So it shouldn't stop you from doing anything. But when it's public knowledge, it kind of throws a wrench into the whole getting caboodle. So.
Levi, I want to get your take on this just a sec. You said it's bad business, and you might be right for some of that. I think sometimes, though, it might be a very vocal minority sometimes who are the loudest usually. And let's just say we're on we're a much smaller podcast, and let's say, there was the chance to talk to someone who might be very different politically than we might be, but hopefully we wouldn't talk about that on their show, and we just talk about games and movies and TV shows, but they had a huge following. I think from a business standpoint, some people would say, you should do that. like you should go on there to get more exposure because that could help, bring your name to the forefront. However, I guess you do have to keep in mind of the people who have been supporting you the whole time and how they're going to react to it as well. That's the kind of the question I want to give to you now, Levi. Is he's kind of asking, do you think these people who go on these shows or potentially collaborate with other people who don't like share their political views, that they deserve this backlash from their communities?
No, I don't think so. And we talked about this on my stream the other night. I don't think everybody should be condemned right away for some certain things, depending on what they are.
Sure. Yeah. Well, it's one of those things where I think people have a right to express how they feel, for sure.
Absolutely.
And they'll do that in many ways. If somebody wants to be on a show to kind of get their brand more noticed and it's advertising, I completely understand that. But the people, let's say if you're like a Patreon backer, you also have the right to pull your funding and say, hey, I don't like that you went on the show with this person and I don't support you anymore because of that. It does seem a little reactionary, and it is kind of unfortunate that some people can come out and say like, hey, if you do this, I'm not going to give you any more money. It's like, yeah, but like, this is what you've told me to try new things, and I'm going to fail and learn and stuff like that. And I think a lot of this stuff, these crowdfunding campaigns that a lot of people are doing, us included, we're going to make mistakes, and we're going to have to learn from those mistakes, and hopefully we can learn together, as opposed to being, like you said, immediately condemned and be like, what, like, no, forget you, like, get out of here. So yeah, I think we're mostly all on the same page for this. Like, we don't really talk about this sort of thing very often at all. And we're kind of pretty all inclusive as it goes for most things. Obviously, there's a few things we don't like, stand for, or we should say that we actually do stand against. But we hopefully would never, collaborate or work with people who went against that. We're looking at, your neo-Nazism, your sexism, all that stuff that is a zero tolerance policy. Animal cruelty. I mean, not a lot of people are like pro animal cruelty, but if they were, we wouldn't work with them.
Maybe I shouldn't be.
No, this is a horrible inside joke. Anyway, yeah, an interesting question, Miss Mage. I appreciate you asking that. I got this like the other week and I forgot that I had it, but I was like, oh, we should talk about this because it is kind of a hard-hitting question a little bit. And we don't usually get those types of things. We usually get kind of softballs and stuff like that, which I appreciate. He did follow up with a few other questions, but one that I just kind of want to go in with you guys quick. He says, local co-op seems to be coming back in favor with developers of late instead of having online-only multiplayer, which I would consider a good thing. Some games still have online-only, though. So what games would you love to have local co-op that don't already? Levi, are there any games that, like, so Cuphead, for instance, is local co-op. You can sit down with a buddy and play with that. So is there any other games that you would like to see be like local co-op, like maybe one of the new Halos, maybe Destiny, for instance?
No, I mean, just at least at my age, we don't really have time to get together much anymore and do LAN type parties, LAN type gaming. Pretty good with that.
What was that last part, Paul?
No, I'm pretty good with where I'm at with the games right now. I don't think I would need, I'm not a big fan of split screen to begin with. I don't like people, seeing the same screen I'm on and cutting the view in half, and just kind of over that, I guess, in my life right now.
Yeah, it was like Super Smash Brothers. Maybe is like an alternative to not being like.
Yeah, that's different. I mean, if they ported Smash to the Switch and didn't have that, I'd be irate. But
yeah, for sure, I get that totally. Joe, how about you? Is there any games that you wish that you could just like teleport me over to you and we could like sit down and play, like Grand Theft Auto Online? Would you like to have that be like local co-op couch split screen type of deal?
I don't think so. I like the fact that the online gameplay and having other players in your session brings a whole new aspect to it, or another dimension to it, another thing to worry about or deal with. I think it's entertaining. It adds another little wrench in the gameplay, if you will, something to take into account as you're doing certain things, and I like that factor. But yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think of games like that I'd want to do it. I appreciate games like Ghost Recon Wildlands. That's what it's not. I mean, it's online. You're with your buddies in the same game, but you're all seeing your own screen, your own player. It's not so much based in online like there's other players in the session that you're going against. None of that deal. It's all AI that you're fighting, that sort of thing. I appreciate that kind of. I don't know if you want to call that local play. It's technically not, but
No, it's not.
But yeah, it's hard to do anything else where the online factor doesn't come into play.
I think, if you want to talk about a franchise that does it well and still does it, I think Gears of War does it very well. You can do local split screen. Like you and your fiance Joe could play that tonight, and you probably would still get you have a pretty good time with it. I know a lot of people, like my sister and brother-in-law, I play with them a ton, and they used to always do split screen. You have a big enough TV, that's still a lot of screen for just your character.
That's true.
One game looking up here, I always look at my games for inspiration. Kingdom Hearts. Joe, you could be Goofy. Levi, you could be Donald. I could be Sora. We could all be fighting in the same battle together. It'd be great. We could just get it all on screen at the same time. Might be a little crazy and hectic. That's pretty good. That's a
Levi has disconnected.
I'm trying my best.
That's a good idea.
That's what would be great. Or Devil May Cry. Well, I'm trying to think of games that have multiplayer but do not have the local. I'm surprised. I'm not surprised that Destiny doesn't do this or Halo doesn't really do that anymore. They used to when that used to be a bigger thing. Like you guys said, or Levi, you kind of mentioned that we don't have time for it. People don't make time for it. That's the thing. Back in the day, it's like my one friend out of 4 friends had an Xbox, or whatever. And you'd be like, yeah, so that guy's you got to be able to split screen so he and his buddy can play. But now it's like everybody's got an Xbox or everybody's got a PlayStation. So it's like not as much. Yeah, everybody, it's not as much of a need as you think. But still, I like the idea of local co-op still. I think there's something sitting next to a person and playing a game. There's something you can't beat about it. That's all I'm trying to say. That's all I'm going to say.
That's true. I agree.
Ryan asks us, what games are you looking forward to next year and why? Joe, you got a 2018 game that you're excited about? We'll probably do a whole podcast about this, but just give a little tease. Teased.
Anything I'm excited about for next year? Anthem for show.
If it comes.
Well, you stole mine. Dang it.
If it comes next year, that's what I'm most excited about. You and I were watching. I had seen some stuff before, and last night we watched a little bit of the gameplay that they had teased, and holy man, does it look awesome! From a pure look standpoint, the environment, all that looks great. And just the technology, it's very kind of futuristic, but still looks like it feels good and it's appropriate. But then another one I'm excited about, I was watching the stream from one of the Easy Allies guys. It was Monster Hunter.
What? I didn't think you'd bring this up, dude. That's I didn't think you'd ever bring this up. I was like, I'll bring it up, and
What? No, I was watching it for a little bit I had a little time on Sunday that I just pulled it up and watched some, and it looked really cool. Like the environment was insane, giant trees type of deal, and you're cutting paths through the trees.
I didn't see that part. Dang. Thank you,
well,
Ben Moore.
Not cutting paths through, but the paths kind of intertwine through the branch system or root system. Really cool. And the character design looked neat. Very almost limitless options, for types of ammunition, those sorts of things. It looks like some different class types almost.
Oh yeah.
And then so not only was the environment really sexy looking, but the monsters. The monsters look really good, and I hope they have a really big variety. It's not all flying type dragon type things. I hope it's more a large variety of monsters, creepy crawlies, that sort of stuff. And I tell you what, you get together with some friends in a game like that could be hours spent, and a definite feature for Timekillers. So probably 2 of my most high on the list games for next year. And then also I can't leave this without plugging in Red Dead Redemption 2. So excited for that as well. But
we'll talk about that more. We just got to see some gameplay. Levi, how about you, man? What game are you excited about for 2018? Game or games?
Yeah, Anthem, Kingdom Hearts 3, Halo 7 should be coming.
Halo 6.
What about Overwatch 2? I'm really excited for that.
Has that been announced?
No. Oh god.
I was just about to go Google. No.
Right after they get ongoing game, they're like, and now we're announcing a sequel as well. They're like,
I'd like to pick up the Shadow Colossus.
oh yeah, Shadow Colossus remake. Sure. Yeah, man.
I'm actually hearing. Well, not that it's next year. Oh, actually, it might be next year. Xenoblade coming out this month or next?
Xenoblade's already out. Xenoblade Chronicle 2.
Is it out already? Oh my goodness!
They got
well, I don't
recycled.
have my Switch, so I wouldn't know.
That's me. I don't know where it is. I don't know what you're talking about. Whose Switch is my Switch? Anyway,
I actually am hearing good things about it. So,
if you want, if I probably shouldn't plug other people's channels, but the guy that Joe was watching the other day, Ben Moore from the Easy Allies, he did a very long review about Xenoblade Chronicles 2. He played the whole game, and it's like,
I'll go check it out.
Yeah, check it out, please do. It's like 11 minutes long, but it's very well written. And I was like,
sure,
I'm not really interested in this game, but I will watch Ben talk about it. Oh, actually, Brandon talk about this.
Ian. There's a game coming out next year, I think, called SOS. That looks really good.
SOS. Don't want to second guess. This is bottom line.
No, it's not a Jonas Brothers game, unfortunately. It's a game show game where these characters are put on an island and they have to. It's kind of like PlayerUnknown's Battleground, kind of like Fortnite. Look it up. Check it out.
Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds interesting.
Yeah, check out SOS.
SOS. Another one that we hadn't mentioned. Maybe you'll mention it, Jimmy. Should I give you a chance to mention it? You turned me on to it. You even sent it to Drew.
Oh, I don't know if it's coming out next year. It might, but are you talking about the acronym one?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So from the people who made Payday 2, there's a game. It's got a really stupid name, but it's called GTFO. And it looks like an alien-esque, like first-person type of shooter thing where it's like you go going on with a group of friends and like I don't know what you're trying to do in these places, but I don't know if there's zombies. It might be zombies, so it got kind of like a Left 4 Dead / Aliens vibe. And they showed it off at the Game Awards, one of the announcements they had there. That one looks pretty interesting. just type in GTFO gameplay. You'll see it's like really like a bunch of some pretty good VO, by the way, in that.
It looks badass. I gotta admit, pretty scary.
Yeah, I'm just hoping. I want to see like skill trees and stuff. I want there to be a reason to do all this stuff, which they did in Payday 2, so I wouldn't be surprised to see that.
It looks like a much higher quality than Payday 2, and probably a little bit bigger investment.
It's been a long time since Payday 2, so I'm not surprised.
There's something about that game. I think a good reference point for it would be Area 51. So if you had ever experienced Area 51 on the PlayStation 2. Think of that only as a co-op style campaign, I guess you could say, and with much better graphics and features. That would be a good comparison. But this is definitely far exceeding that, but exciting looking. So
the last thing I just want to bring up for myself personally, I think it's coming out next year for us here in the West. Dragon Quest 11. One of the jolliest looking RPGs. It looks so good. It's already been out in Japan for about half a year now. And hopefully we're going to get a localization here in the States. But, man, it looks great. One of my favorite things in almost any game is to play or have a party member that isn't like an old man. And they definitely have that in this game. And he looks like he's got like fire slash ability. It's just like a jolly world. Hopefully that game, is just incredibly wonderful. It's hard to go to an open world game after playing, something like Horizon or Breath of the Wild that might not give you the ability to have the utility to like climb the mountains and do all this crazy stuff. But the battle system itself and the fact that the monsters are out there now because it's still turnstile based battle system is pretty cool to me, just because I hate random encounters. That was a kind of a hamstringing factor of older titles, is that or in Pokemon even, you walk around for a bit and every 5 steps there's like new fight, and then in 5 more steps new fight. But now you can pick when you want to fight these things, and you see them out in the environment, and looks jolly, looks beautiful, and I just can't wait to get my hands on it and just actually experience that game. Kind of old school, RPG, but in the modern day. That's always something I'm looking forward to. So after I beat Battle Chasers, it'll be my next turnstile based game. Which Battle Chasers a heck of a lot longer than I thought it was going to be. I'm still playing. I'm like, what? Anyway, believe it or not. We have one last question here from Ricardo. He asks us, is the new Ready Player One movie trailer criticism valid? Should the studio use the franchise by appealing to various generations, or stick to the nostalgic trip of older generation moviegoers? Our take. Levi and Joe, you both watched this trailer. And if anyone hasn't watched this, you might want to watch like the new one. And I think a lot of maybe the criticism, I'm not exactly super familiar with the criticism for it. Like we talked about Overwatch earlier, Tracer's in this trailer for like half a second. And you see a lot of other kind of a few modern day video game characters, but then some older ones. But you see some like DC characters in there, a bunch of stuff. But yeah, Levi, how do you feel about this trailer? Do you think it deserves this criticism? Should it stick with this, or should it go for the nostalgia trip? What do you think?
I don't know too much about the criticism either. I just saw this Tracer part, and I was like, "Ooh, that's interesting." Very much of a Tron feel. I don't know how I feel about it. I don't know how I feel about it. I'm not a big fan of VR, so I don't know if it's going to be.
Yeah, fair enough. Joe, how about you, man? How do you feel about this trailer and this information that we're getting here?
Ready Player One, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, yeah. As I saw the trailer, I thought it was really interesting. It's kind of I don't know that I've ever been exposed to anything of that nature before, where it's kind of like, it's almost like Matrix style, like real world and then the virtual world. And it's interesting how it can kind of relate to reality in our own lives, that something like that could potentially be a real situation in the far out future. You know what I mean? Like, the real world kind of stinks and it's overpopulated and kind of run down and not much opportunity and that whole shebang. But I don't know. It's neat. And it could be fun. And obviously I think a lot of us pick out was that Tracer? I'm like, I don't know. So like any virtual character ever is in this world kind of a deal. And I don't know. It's interesting. I think it has a compelling plot and everything. He's got to find this Easter egg for all that money and control of the virtual realm. But and then he ends up fighting all these people as competition. It's interesting. It's kind of cool. So call me interested on it. I don't have much more to say on it, but.
Well, I think he makes a good point. He kind of follows up and says, like, what's the threshold for viewers until they've had enough of trailers hitting them with nostalgia until it becomes a tired marketing ploy? I think that's a lot in here, too. You see, like, I think Ryu from Street Fighter. You see a bunch of that stuff. Like, Deathstroke's in it for, like, a half second. He's in the first one a little bit more. But there's just, like, a bunch of characters. I don't know. It seems like a little bit of a cluster to me, all these characters coming together. And it definitely is playing on that. It's like, hey, you both like Tracer. Tracer's in this movie. Like, that's the reason you guys kind of want to go see this now. It's like Tracer might be in it for like 10 seconds, maybe, and she's not going to be like a main character. Probably like the main character sitting down with her. And she's like, all right, love, the cavalry's here. That's like probably not going to be more than that.
But I got to admit, when you bring up that nostalgia point, sorry to say, and I feel like I can say it with confidence, unless you strictly, and you'll never get everybody or the general public to do this, but unless you as a person sit down and say, no, the nostalgia thing doesn't get me anymore. I mean, you just kind of cut out of your brain nostalgia. Nope. It's almost impossible. There's no way that'll ever become a marketing ploy that's ineffective.
Sure. Unless they actually make a new franchise or something, that'd be nice.
Yeah, but nostalgia gets people, it just does. Yeah,
it's the world's most powerful subtlety.
Yeah, exactly. So, But yeah, so there was a player, Ready Player One prior to this.
No, this is there's a trailer before this one.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, like I said, I'm sorry, I'm not exactly familiar with what the actual criticism is of it. Maybe people are saying it's trying to go for too many things or too nostalgic or something. But with the studio appealing to various generations by adding somebody like Tracer for you guys, as opposed to maybe doing what the actual book did. I don't know what the book stuck to, like the 80s or the 70s or the 60s or if it's video games, obviously like 80s, 90s and stuff. So by adding these modern day characters, like really new characters into this, I guess, as the studio standpoint, if that's what you're going to do, you want to appeal, obviously, your movie to the masses, that's what you want to do. So if you can get that by just throwing Tracer in for 10 seconds and you can get everybody who's playing Overwatch to be like, hey, I want to see this movie now. best ongoing game for the Video Game Awards. Cool, let's go see this movie. That just seems like a smart marketing strategy. Even if she's only in it for 10 seconds, if you put in any of these if you put Cuphead in there for like 5 seconds, or whatever, Nathan Drake, you put him in there for like 10 seconds, people will be like, oh, cool, Nathan Drake's in this movie. So he's at a bar somewhere, he doesn't even talk. So yeah, I think it's just a smart marketing ploy. That's just what I have to say about that. But believe it or not, gentlemen, that is this week's show. Thank you so much, guys, for being on. If you guys ever have a question for us, all you have to do is tweet the hashtag Critical Podcast to any of us. You can tweet at our official account, which is @GoCritical with a capital G and a capital C, or you can tweet at me personally. I'm at JimmyGood013. If you want to tweet at Joe, you can tweet at
Lever_627. That's Lever just like Beaver, only with an L.
Very good. And if you want to tweet at Levi, you can tweet at
I'm just at Levi Fletcher.
Exactly. I thought for sure you're gonna be like, I'm not on Twitter. He's like, I'm not on Twitter. If you guys ever want to see us streaming some games, even Levi streaming some games, we're streaming over on twitch.tv/critical reviews. We're on there Monday and Thursday afternoons, or at least I am. Levi's been streaming some of the weekday nights, so keep it locked on Twitter to see when we're going to be on and stuff like that. I want to send out a few thank yous. I want to thank This Is Dale for our intro/outro music. And I want to thank the one, the only, Joran Evers, the guy who does pretty much all the art you see here on the show. We thank you so much, Joran. If you ever want some art done by him, like a commission or anything like that, check him out on Twitter at Naraj28 or at Jade Circle Art. But if you want to support Joran and us at the same time, you can check out patreon.com/critical reviews to see how you can get a cool avatar, some really amazing art. And if you donate to $100, you can make a fully customizable one with everything on there. Like Jonathan, he picked out all that stuff. Like he picked out all like the cloak and the sword and the book and all that stuff. All him. It's very cool. But thank you guys. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Levi. I really appreciate you guys being on today. It's great.
Jimmy.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, Levi, you got to be on next week because we're gonna be talking Star Wars. I'm gonna drag you along, Joe. I hope you see it. If you don't, you're gonna be confused. We're gonna be throwing words around like Rilo Ken and Finn. No, I'm just kidding. See, I already messed it up.
So that's tomorrow night.
Kylo Ren. But yeah, technically tomorrow night it comes out, and yep, everybody should see it. So we're not going to spoil anything this week, but next week we'll do a spoiler-free discussion, and then we'll do a spoiler discussion to talk about it a bit more. But there will be a review. Also, I'm going to do a Force Awakens commentary, so if that should be out by now, so you guys should check that out if you want a reason to go back and watch that movie. You don't have to watch it alone. You'll be with me. But thank you guys again so much for being on, and just remember to adapt and overcome. I'll see you next time. Bye.